that fosters your emotional and professional relationships so that you become a more productive and fulfilled version of yourself. Fejiro is a chartered accountant with over 12 years' experience in the finance industry, a certified relationship and emotional intelligence coach, and the founder of Kafel Solutions, through which she and her team are dedicated to empowering businesses and career professionals to build and sustain robust relationships. She's also a family life practitioner and the founder of the askmrzsparkles Academy, where she's wholeheartedly building a tribe of enlightened and equipped singles, sparkling couples, and harmonized families through which she believes nations will be transformed. She is associate of the Network of Family Systems Engineering and a member of the Institute Family Life Association of America. She's happily married, and together they are blessed with two amazing boys. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Sparkles.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining me again tonight. How are you all doing? Hope you had an amazing day. I hope it was not too stressful. Now, as we do it, let me know in the chat if you can hear me live and clearly, please. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clearly. I'm super excited. This is day 2 of the dating series, Dating Chronicles with MrzSparkles. Yesterday, we had an amazing time. Who was here? Who was here? Okay, I'm looking out for the chat, waiting to confirm that you can hear me, and I will jump right into it. Our guest is already here, and I don't want us to waste any second. Please let me know if you can hear me live, if you can hear me loud, and if you can hear me clearly. I hope that our internet is going to behave well today. Awesome! Thank you, thank you. I see you can hear me. How was yesterday? Okay. Now, for those of you who are just joining us today, I'm sure you already listened to the intro, so I don't need to do any further introductions. But I want to meet you. I am streaming live from Lagos, Nigeria. Let me know where you are joining me from this beautiful day. Hi, aloha. I see you. Let me know where you are joining me from. Today is going to be amazing. I told you yesterday it was going to be hot, and it was hot, hot, basbos. Our guest is here already. Awesome. Thank you, Olako. Thank you so much. I'm not going to jump right into all of the things we discussed yesterday, but there's one thing I want to emphasize. People have asked me, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? 5 days back to back of bringing professionals, and not just professionals, people who are also married and enjoying their marriages. And it's simple. If you don't get it right before you start dating, chances are plenty heartbreaks back to back. Hi, Dorcas, I see you. Chances are you go on with the relationship. At the point of premaritals, you realize that there are 1, 2, 3 things that you need to address. The funny thing now is many people don't take a step back at that time. So the best thing you can do for yourself is to start on time. And there is no excess knowledge. Like yesterday, I wrote notes. Like I had 3 pages from yesterday, and I kid you not, I am going to implement those in my mind. Someone was telling me, I feel like I even more things away than people that are single. Well, I don't know. We all come here with different ears, and I want you to give us attention. Okay, 1 hour and we're out of here. Today we have Coach Dolly. Now, if you have not heard her speak, I don't know, maybe we're going to spend like 3 hours today because she's one person that pours from her heart. Like she gives you unfiltered, real story. And we're taking her back today to, over a decade of when she met her husband. Now, before I bring her on board, let me quickly read her bio. Okay, let me quickly read her bio and I will bring her right on board. I'm excited. Okay, so Dolly is a certified marriage counselor, she's a relationship coach, and she's a human resource consultant. She's a marriage counselor with the Love, Dating, and Marriage Institute, founded by Pastor Kingsley and Pastor Mildred. And she is also a certified emotional intelligence coach. Okay. By her calling, she partners with individuals and couples to meet their relationship goals and maximize their full potential and ultimately build healthy marriages. Her bio is plenty things and all. I don't want to dive too deep into it. One of the things that I need you to know is that she believes that you can call her the healthy marriage builder. Ladies and gentlemen, are you excited? Coach Dolly in the house. Hi, Dolly. Good evening.
Hi, Drew, Mrs.
So
Sparkles.
good,
Good
so good,
evening.
so good to have you here. Thank you for
Same
joining
here,
us.
same here. Yeah.
Awesome. So we have a few questions for you. We know that you are a coach, but we also know that you are married, you have children, and you're doing this thing graciously. Now we have singles here who are men and women. Okay. So whilst we are asking you a few questions to also learn from your experiences, some of the mistakes that you made, would also like to just give us some insights on how we cannot make the mistakes that you may have made and to also point us in the right direction. Hi, Olivia. I see you. Show some love. I see all the love for you, Coach Dolly, in the chat. Show some love for her. Show some love. Awesome. Thank you,
Thank
Fumito.
you.
Thank you, Shade of NK.
Thank you.
You are so, so, so welcome. Okay,
Thank you.
now I'm going to jump right into the questions because I want us to use our time very well this evening. Are you ready for us?
Yes,
Please
by
and
God's grace, I
definitely
am.
have your notes, have your journal, have your pen, and full attention as we drill this evening. Okay, my first question for you, Coach Dolly, is this: what was growing up like for you? I mean, from when you can remember to adulthood, what was growing up like for you, and how would you say that that experience influenced your dating relationships?
Okay. Thank you so much once again, Mrs. Sparkles, and thank you so much for your audience. Adriel, well done. You're doing so well, and I pray
Yeah,
God blesses the works of your hands. Okay. Okay. So
amen.
without wasting much of our time, because we're working with 1 hour from what you shared with me, right? Okay.
Yeah,
So I don't go deep into it, but I'll just give few pointers, from my childhood till, now. I grew up in a family of five, so, with our parents, right? And
mhm,
I know growing up, it was more of, and I'll just jump into the relationship part because that's why we're here,
mhm.
right? So that I don't go
Yeah,
into, when I was little and things like that. Yeah. So
okay.
in my home, coincidentally, I was listening to the speaker yesterday, and she mentioned that growing up, it was more of their parents wanted them to bring people home. So that was how I grew up as well. So, then you'll be sneaking out, sneaking in, you park
Yeah,
on the road, enter the
mhm,
boys' car and things like that. But I think one day my father saw me, or I can't remember who, and said, no, bring the person into the house, so that this will know this person, and it's important because for safety reasons, just in case something happens, let's even know who his family is and things like that. So that's how I
mhm,
grew up. Okay. And afterwards, of course, I had few relationships. And I also want to make it clear that growing up, like as a young girl in uni, I wasn't a born again Christian. Okay, so I was fully in the world. Okay,
mhm,
um, so we, so I had a few people I dated. I think the first person I dated, I can't remember how, I think I was 18, but nothing serious, when you're dating someone, But I also noticed that
mhm.
he was obsessed with me, things like that. So, and the relationship got really bad, to the extent that, a lot of things went wrong. Okay. But let me jump that and just go straight to the place before I now met my husband. Okay. So
Okay.
I was dating this guy, right? And don't forget, Ejiro, what builds up who we are is basically from nature and nurture, right? So nature meaning your background, your genetics, things like that. Then nurture definitely is your environment, right? Nature is definitely your environment, right? Things around you, people you hang out with, what you see, what you eat, what you read, what you take in, what you bring, so things like that, right? So I started dating this guy who we dated for 4 years, right? And it was a very deep relationship. I introduced him to my family because we were very close. And he started like he was abusive, right? So
Wow.
and because I continued. So what happens is when you begin to accept negative behaviors, you begin to normalize them, right? So it became a norm because I wasn't speaking to anyone, I wasn't telling anyone anything, I was just enduring. And after that, he would come and say, I love you, I love you. He would kneel down and things like that, right? Until one day when I couldn't hug people. I couldn't, this thing you kiss somebody when you see somebody. I couldn't do all that. He was always calling my driver to know where I was. And, this is me who I'm an open book. So I'm very honest. I'm very transparent. I tell people like how it is. And this is someone who doesn't trust me. Do you understand what I mean? And it was back to back until one day he came to my brother's house and Ejiro, I was at home and he slapped me in my brother's house. I don't know where this power came from. And I just carried a bottle, like I carried a bottle, Ejiro, and I was pushing this guy down my stairs. I didn't know where that power came from. So I also wanted to be clear that sometimes your experiences can change who you are, right? But please don't allow that happen because when you allow your experiences change you, that means you have not been rooted. Do you understand? You don't have an identity yet. You have not been rooted in Christ yet. Do you understand what I mean? But when you know who you are, when you're complete, when you're whole in yourself, right? You don't let what people's opinions or people's perspectives or people's, even get to you at all right? You're still grounded no matter what. So that won't change you, okay? So after that one, I got into another relationship, and that one was more of like for 2 years we dated, and for me, I knew there was something missing, right? I knew that he wasn't who I wanted to be with. But you know how women were dating people and we just feel, I've been with this person for long. You know that kind of thing. What will people say? Oh,
Walk.
let me stay here. We go to church
Walk.
together. Yes. Do you understand what I mean? We go to
Yeah.
church together. People already know us. Parents already know this, and you want to remain there. If you're listening
Yeah.
to me right now, please, this is one of the things I'll ask you to avoid, right? No matter how long you've been in a relationship, you can't compromise on your values and standards, okay? Once you begin to compromise on your values and standards, that means you're compromising on who you are. That means you don't even know who you are, okay? Because if you know who you are, you won't compromise on your values and standards, okay? So that's important. So it was after him, something happened, Ejiro, is very personal. So maybe I'll share this with you later, but I'll just throw a few lights into it. So I lied to him about not lied, but I pretended that something was happening. Meanwhile, it wasn't happening because I wanted to know where I stood in his life, right? And the next thing I told
Okay.
him, oh, that, this is happening. And he was like, oh, that, that he doesn't want to get married, that he just wants to have, somebody he will live with. So please, if you're listening to me right now, let me tell you what's happening, right? If you're dating somebody, right, you might be having the time of your life. You know his parents, you know his friends, you know his family, he knows yours. It's not a guarantee that he wants to marry you. You can be dating somebody for 3 years and marriage is not on his calendar or on her calendar. They're just there because
Yeah.
they like you well
Yeah.
enough to be with you, but they're not ready to get
Yeah.
married. All right. So I've had friends who have dated people, and the next thing they're dating and asking questions, and the next thing they realize that this person doesn't even want to have children. And you know that you want to have children. What are you doing there? Of course, they walked away. But some people will stay there and say, oh, maybe he will change. Nobody has the capacity to change anyone. You're not God, all right? It's only God that is empowered, that has that capacity to change a human being. Okay? So that's another part, right? So after him, Ejiro, that was when I now met, the person that is supposed to be my husband now, right? And I don't know if to pause if any question, any follow up question, I should just complete
My
it,
next
right?
question was actually going to
Okay,
be, so how did you meet your husband and why do you think he was the
okay.
one for you? So please, you are
Okay,
in the
okay.
spirit.
Okay, okay. So my husband and I met. I used to work in a company called Visa Phone. I'm sure some of you know that already. No, a new Visa Phone when it was here. So I used to work in a branch in VI in Sakatinu. My husband was in the head office, right? I never knew him throughout, right? So I was in the office one day with my colleagues, and I called my manager, and my manager says, there's this guy you should call. His name is Peter. He will be the one to help you sort out, the issue you're having. And I said, okay. So my friends had Peter Ohanyere, and they were like, that's the most handsome guy in Visa Phone. Dolly. And I just said, oh, really? Okay, that means I've got myself a husband. That was what I
Wow.
said. I hadn't met this guy. I didn't even know he existed. Nothing at all. Right. So and I called him that day, and he goes like, "Oh, your voice is so nice." I said, "Yeah, I hear that all the time. I'm used to." And I said, "You're not even humble. At least say thank you." I said, "Oh no, thank you, but I hear that all the time." And the next thing he says, and the next thing he sorts out my problem, and we ended the call. And 2 days later, I called my boss again, and he says, "Call Peter Ohanyere." And that day I called him, and he was so nasty over the phone. I think he was having a bad day, and he now was nasty. And the next thing, I hung up on him, and I called my boss to say, "Don't ever send me to this guy again," right? So after a week, this guy calls me, and I had deleted his number. Well, I deceived myself that I had deleted his number because we were on CUG, right? So I knew his number even off my head, right?
Yeah.
So and the next thing, he calls me, Ejiro, and he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I just called to say sorry. Where are you? I can come to your house. I can meet you. Blah blah blah." I said, okay. And he said, "Please don't. That shouldn't do shakara for him. That when he comes, that I will melt." I was like, "Are you okay? Are you mad? I will melt. How? Have you seen me? Have you met me? You know what I mean?" And I said, "When
Yeah.
you see me as well, you're going to melt. Are you crazy?" I was abusing him and things like that. And he gets to my house, and once I got into the car, the first thing I heard was, "So what do you think?" I was like, "This guy, you're so
So
proud.
full of
Like, who are
yourself.
you?" Who are you? You're so proud. You know what I mean? So, and the next thing, we got talking, and in 2 weeks, he just said, "You're going to be my wife." And I said, "You're a joker. If you think you're saying this to get it between my legs, and you're a joker." Said, "Oh no, I'm not saying I'll get married to you now, but I am convinced in my heart that when I'm ready to marry, you'll be my wife." So we just laughed
Wow.
about it, and that was how it ended, right? Yes. So and a lot of things happened afterwards, right? He traveled. In fact, Ejiro, I just want to say something here for anyone who's listening, right?
Okay.
So lots of us, particularly Christians, sit down and think God will send somebody to them from high. And just say, "Listen, this is your
I
husband,"
thought
right?
that's how it does it. Does
Oh
it?
no, oh no, oh no. So let me explain how it works, right?
Mm.
So choosing a life partner is a bit. So let me go biblical, right? Because God is the creator of marriage. So whether
Yeah.
whether the world likes it or not, right?
Mhm.
So the truth is that when Adam was created, right? God did a presentation. So he presented different things to him, different creatures, and he said, "Name them," right? He began to name them one by one, right?
Yeah.
So if he had named an ape a woman, men would be married to apes by now, right? Am I
Mm.
correct? So what
Yeah.
happens is at creation, when God pulled Eve out and made a presentation to him, and he was one who chose. Yes, did God? Adam didn't even know he had a need. Ejiro. Adam didn't know he had a need because he was
Mm.
complete in himself. He was a whole human being, right? He
Yeah.
had a job, he had work to do. Like he was
Mm.
made in the image and likeness of God. And anybody who's made in the image and likeness of is like God. So that means he had power, he had authority, he had every single thing he needed, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I keep telling any human being, right? You have to be whole and complete in yourself. Anywhere you are and you think you need someone to complete you, it means you're already incomplete. All right. It means you are incomplete. It means you're not whole. Right. So,
Yeah.
and so that was a presentation he made. Right. Let me even use
Mm.
Abraham when he wanted to search for a wife for Isaac. What happened? He sent his, one of his people, go and look for a wife for me. And he went in search of a wife. Right.
Mhm.
So God did not say, "This person is your wife." No. So what God does for you, and even when the messenger asked us, say, "What if this person is not willing to follow me?" That means there is willingness. That means God doesn't say, "This is your wife," because God doesn't choose
Yeah.
for you. Okay, you're
Yeah.
the one who's empowered to choose who you want to marry. All right. So it's important for us to understand that God does a presentation, right? He gives you options, right?
Mhm.
But when it comes to
Mhm.
choosing, you're the one who is going to choose that person by yourself. All right. So there's no one person God has created for you up there. There's no one person God has said this is who you're going to marry. There's always a presentation. There's always an option. He presents different options
Wow.
for you to choose from, right? So you will
Mm.
now choose based on similarities, based on interests, based on personalities, based on values, based on character, right? All those things,
Mhm.
right? But he empowers you, so he leads you, he directs you, he leads you, he directs, and he guides you, right? It's the
Mhm.
same thing he did for Abraham. He gave him guidance, he provided direction for his servant and things like that, right? So
Mhm.
please, if you're here, and just imagine, Ejiro, that if God has said it's Peter that you have to marry, right? And
Mhm.
Peter is in and Peter right now is in Russia. What are the chances that I'm going to meet Peter? What are the chances that Peter is not dead by now? What are the chances that this person is still alive? Do you understand what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
there's always a presentation. Yes, Ejiro, there's always a God factor, because don't forget, even in Adam and Eve's creation, don't forget what happened there, right? God
Mhm.
already brought out Eve for us. So that means there is a woman for every man. Do you understand what I mean?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
there is still a God factor. God is in his will. Do you understand? So that means whenever we're choosing, we should make sure we
Mm.
choose in accordance to God's will, because there is perfect will, there is good will, and there is acceptable will. What happens
Wow.
is once we choose, God honors the choices that we make. Do you understand what I mean? He
Mm.
honors the choices.
Yeah.
So if you choose wrongly, right, he's going to honor it, because he's a God that honors covenant, because marriage is a
Mm.
covenant. Do you understand what I mean? If you make a
Oh.
vow, you must keep it. Do you understand what I
Mm.
mean? Because
Yeah.
you can't make vows and you say you can't keep it. So what we do is, Ecclesiastes 5:5, I think, said that you can't make a
Mm.
vow that you cannot keep. In fact, God calls you a
Mm.
fool. So we should
Mm.
understand that covenants are very powerful. God honors covenants. Do you
Mhm.
understand what I mean?
Mhm.
And when it comes to
Mm.
covenant, just check. The reason why we're here today, because there was a covenant. Do you understand? When God came,
Yeah.
the only reason why God came was because he wanted to redeem humanity. Do you understand? And for
Mm.
him to
Yeah.
do that, what did he do? He used different people. Adam and Eve failed. He went to Noah. He went to Abraham. He went to Moses. He went to David.
Mm.
And
Yep.
finally, it was
Yep.
himself. Can
Yep.
you see?
Yep. Yep.
The new
Yep.
covenant. Can you see what I mean?
Wow.
So
Wow. Wow.
everything
Wow.
about God is covenant, is about covenant. So you can, and that's why you have to start right. Starting right means preparing yourself, empowering
Coach Dolly,
yourself
you're
with
giving us
all you
fire.
need.
You're giving us
Do you
fire.
understand what I
You're
mean?
giving
You
us
need to
fire.
do that, because if you don't prepare
Yes.
yourself, if you don't start right, you won't choose right. If you don't choose right, you will
Mm.
definitely not marry right. It's as simple
Ah,
as that,
if you don't
right?
start right,
I
you
don't
won't
know.
choose right. If you
Yeah.
don't choose
So I don't
right,
know.
you won't marry right. Ladies and
Sorry.
gentlemen, are you guys still here? Are you guys still here? If you don't start right, you won't choose right. If you don't choose right, you will not marry right. Somebody please put that in the chat. I feel like Coach Dolly has taken, like, all of you just went silent. Like she poured cold water. But everything she said is absolutely true. Now, Dolly, I have a question for you.
Yes,
At
please.
the beginning, you said let me see if I can use your word. You said you were
Okay.
in the world at the beginning. How
Yes.
did you transform from being in the world into being a Christian, and how did that affect your dating relationship?
Okay. So first of all, Adriel, there are two worlds, right? There's a
Okay.
kingdom of darkness, there's kingdom of light, right?
Mm.
There's kingdom of the world and there's kingdom of God, right? So there's light, there's darkness, right? So
Mhm.
I don't want us to get it twisted. There are only two worlds, right? So you're either here or you're there. And that's why the Bible made it clear, do not be unequally yoked and unbeliever, right? So,
Mhm.
but when you do, right, of course, there are chances that things can be restored. So let me not go there yet. Let me just
Yeah.
stay where you want me to be, right? So when
Okay.
I was in the world, so let me tell you what happened, right? So when I was in the world, I met someone in the world. Can you see? I started
Mhm.
dating someone in the world, right?
Mhm.
So the
Mhm.
principles that I was using or that I used to choose were the
Mhm.
principles of the world. Do you understand what I mean?
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
So let me now tell you what played out, right? So when it comes to the world, right, there are principles that we abide by, right? When it
Yeah.
comes to God, right? There are principles we abide by, right? So every kingdom has their principles, they have their
Mhm.
laws, they have their standards, they have their processes, they have their rules, right? They have
Mhm.
every single thing that works for them, right? So
Yeah.
when I was in the world, I chose based on that. So Adrian, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you that I chose based on values. Oh, he's this. Oh, aspiration.
That's
Oh,
honesty.
vision.
you. Thank you
No,
for making
I
this.
didn't choose based on that. And Adriel, I
Yeah.
can also tell you biblically times where that happened, right? When
Mm,
Adam met Eve, he
mm,
didn't know her. He didn't know whether
mm,
he didn't know that, that she was going to be the one to bring us to where we are today, right? He didn't know that.
mhm,
Do you understand? He didn't
mhm,
know that. What he knew was that he saw something and liked something and moved ahead with it. Do you understand? But
yeah.
did he know that this is so? That's why there is a seeing and there is a knowing. Do you understand? You can't
Yeah.
choose based on sight. You have to choose based on sight and the knowing. Do you understand
Mm,
what I mean? So
yes.
anybody that chooses based on sight, let me tell you what happens, right? So physical attraction, which of course some of us chose by, right,
Mm,
is he's fine, he's tall, he's dark, he's handsome,
mhm,
he's this, he's
mhm,
that. And I'm not going to be the one to sit here and lie to you that those things don't matter. No, physical attributes matter because all over in the Bible, even when Jacob saw Rachel, what happened? He didn't know anything about her. Did he know her personality? He didn't know anything about her. But he chose based on, he was like, oh my goodness, I'm in love with this girl. I love this girl. Do you understand what I mean? So he chose
mhm,
based on what he saw. So what you
mm,
see matters. Your image matters. The guy's image matters. Do you understand what I mean?
mhm.
So
Yeah.
all those things matter. However, is it the basis for choosing? No. Do you understand? So that's the difference. Do you understand what I mean? So
Mm,
worldly selection is about godly selection is about character, is about character, is about qualifications, is about internal qualities. Do you understand? But worldly
yeah.
selection is about physical attributes, is about
Um,
intellectual attributes, is about financial capacity. What does he do? What does she do? How does she look? How does he look? But worldly selection is about what kind of person is he? What kind of person is she? Can you see the difference?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
when I was in the world, I chose based on, oh, what does he do? How does he look like? Can you see what I mean? So these were
Yeah.
the bases I chose from. Can you see what I mean? So when
Mm,
I now got married to this person and I became born again Christian, what do you think happened, Fidjo? This is a guy that you used to
mm,
club with, used to hang out with. You wear mini skirts, you will show
mm,
your cleavage, you will do this, you will do that. And all of a
mm,
sudden, you're changed, you're transformed. Do you understand what I
yeah.
mean?
Yes.
There are two different places to be in. Do you understand? But the
Absolutely.
mistake we make as individuals, we start judging that person. We start trying to make that
Yes.
person be like
Yes.
us. We start trying
Yes.
to, overnight,
Yes.
you want that person to now become born again Christian. Overnight, you want that
Mm.
person to do what you do, to like what
Ah,
you like, to serve the God
yes.
you serve. It
Mm,
doesn't make sense. So what happens is it happens over time. It doesn't happen overnight. Do you understand what I mean?
mm,
These
mm.
things will happen, but let me tell you why it will happen. So let me tell you what happened in my marriage. If fed you. So what happens with mine was I started studying First Peter 3, verse 1 to 2. First Peter 3, verse 1 to 2 is very clear, right? If you can't
Mhm,
win somebody through your words, you win somebody through your actions, right? So I
mm,
began to understand that in this world, you're either an articulator or a demonstrator, or you're an
mm.
articulator and a demonstrator. Do you understand? So if you're not
Yeah.
winning somebody through your words, I had tried so much to win him through my words, but we were quarreling,
Mm.
there was conflict, we were fighting, because the truth is, this is how you met me. Why do you want to change me? Right,
Yes.
Fidjo? So why do you want to
Yes.
change me? This is how you met me. Do you understand what I mean?
Mhm.
So we're
Yeah.
having a lot of issues. But when I now saw that, what I did for myself was I now started living who I. So when you begin to live, just in
Mm.
accordance to God's principles, God's word. What
Yeah.
did God say I should do as a wife? I started doing them.
Mhm.
What did God say I should do because I made a covenant? I started doing them.
Wow.
What did God say? So one issue that I had then, Fejiro, was I was struggling to submit to my husband, right? I was struggling to
Mhm.
submit
Yeah.
because I said, if I'm submitting to him, who is he submitting to? Do you understand what I mean? But
Yeah.
we forget that when God said we should submit, he didn't give any conditions, right? There was no condition. He said,
Condition.
submit fully, totally to your husband. Do you understand what I
Mm.
mean? I now stumbled into the scripture. I think it's in First Corinthians. I can't remember it now, where it was saying
Mm.
that your wife, if you're holy, right, it automatically makes your husband holy. I can't remember, so you can help me find it, right? Vice
Yeah.
versa as
Yeah.
well for the man. So if
Mm.
you're married to somebody who is holy, who knows God, automatically that person, God sees that person as holy. Do you understand? It
Yes.
doesn't mean
Yes.
he's going to win salvation for the person, but the truth is that God, once I stumbled into that scripture, my
Wow.
mindset completely changed. My
Mm.
mindset completely changed. I started
Wow.
honoring my husband. In fact, I asked God for mercy because for me, I had been rebellious. I started crying. I started asking God for mercy because the truth
Mm.
is, I didn't know. I didn't have this knowledge before. Do you understand what? I didn't have this knowledge. So
Yes.
once
Yeah.
I now had that knowledge, I started living it out. Ejiro, I will tell you the truth, right?
Wow.
Before
Wow.
before my marriage turned around, right? I had said, me and
Mm.
my husband, like I was in a place where I wrote him an 8-page document. I was typing, Fejiro. I didn't know how to type 8 foolscap sheets, A4 paper, right? I had
Wow.
sent it to him. He didn't even touch it. He didn't even touch it. Ejiro, by the time I sent him one that I said, love letter to my husband. Ejiro, do you know what I
Mm.
did? Don't forget the
Yeah.
difference. The first letter had judgment, criticisms,
Mm.
blame. It had every single negative thing inside, right?
Wow.
And the other letter had acceptance of my, I took the blame. I accepted I was one who was wrong, even where I wasn't wrong. I took responsibility. I took, I held myself accountable for every single thing that happened. And my husband responded to say, babe, this message is different. I have never heard you from this place. From
Wow.
today, I'm going to commit to loving you for the rest of my life. I'm going to do all
Wow.
I can. And this
Wow.
is because I started obeying God. Can you see the difference? I
Yes.
started obeying God. That's what changed my marriage. So I
Mm.
think we have to come to a place where it's hard, Fejiro, it's hard. So I'm not going to sit here and lie to anyone. So it needs a
Yeah.
lot of commitment. It needs a lot of dedication. It needs a lot of consistency. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
trusting in God. And a lot of us say we have faith. So faith for me is believing what God says, right? Believing that what God says. But Ejiro,
Mm.
let's go further. Let's add hope to it. Hope is the
Mm.
expectation that that word God has said will come to manifestation in your life. That was what held
Mm.
me together. Can you see?
Mm.
That
Yes.
was how I
Yes.
started, growing in my marriage, started changing myself. So most times we point fingers at the other person and we forget to look internally. Ejiro,
Mm.
the answer we're
Mm.
looking for is inside of us, it's not in our partners. Once you
Mm.
can change from inside, your partner automatically will begin to change, even without you asking him to
Mm.
do that, asking her to do that. The changes
Wow.
just begin to come.
Wow. 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 You are on a roll tonight. You are on a roll. I'm having goosebumps all over my body because what? And it's funny because when we hear people say things like this, we just be like, oh my God, thank God, oh. We don't really understand the hard work
Oh,
that would have
yes.
gone into seasons like this. Because
Yes,
somebody here may
marriage.
be feeling, when I if I enter mistakenly, when I enter, I will find a way. Why can't
Mm,
you just make the right decision
that's
from
right.
get
From the
go?
start. Yes. Yes,
Because
I
that's why
agree.
we're doing this. That's why we are doing this,
Yes,
right?
definitely.
I feel like I don't know, but let me ask my next question.
Okay.
Let me ask my next question. During your dating season, you shared a
Yeah.
bit of from what you guys went through, but was there any other specific struggle you both had, either while you were dating or before you got married? Because I know that you've talked about long distance relationship before. Do you want to shed some light on that for us?
Oh yes. So when we're dating, right? Like I said, we had hurdles. So what happened was he went for his MBA, right? And where did he go for his MBA? In South Africa. South Africa, that even when I told my uncle Peter is going, I said, this woman will take him away from me. Don't forget, we're in the
Hmm.
world. Don't forget, Fiji, right?
Yeah.
So anything can go wrong. And that's why I don't want to go there yet. Maybe it's a question you ask me later, but just to
Yeah.
share what people need to be looking out for when they want to choose, right? Please remind
Yeah.
me if that's part of your question.
People,
Please,
people who are concerned about long distance relationship
yes.
in
So
this
let me
generation
tell you.
and time, how
Excellent,
can they
excellent.
engage? Yeah. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
excellent. So let me tell you what happened. So he traveled, right? He went for his masters. So I was in Nigeria, right? So AJ, by the time he went for his masters, of course, he started struggling, right?
Hmm.
So communication wasn't effective. Intimacy, of course, intimacy doesn't grow anymore. So we're just stagnant because the truth is, Adrian, what distance does, see, God did not build, well, I would say marriage, but it's still relationship. So God did not
Yeah.
build marriage for distance. So let me tell you why, right? Remember, there were parts of the
Hmm.
Bible that God was saying that, two people, when you lie on the bed, one person will make the other person warm. Do you understand what I mean? So these are things you read in the Bible. You understand that marriage is not built for long distance relationship. John, that times where long distance relationship would happen, we don't have a choice. Yes, and we'll have to learn to manage it. But communication is definitely became a problem. Intimacy, of course, changed. Do you understand? So let me tell you what happened with intimacy.
Yeah.
For my love language, right? I'm a physical touch person, Fejiro. And Fejiro, I'm sure you've known me well enough. I touch a lot because it's my love language. I touch even my drivers, my cook, like my domestic staff, everybody, my colleagues, I touch them a lot, right? So because I'm a physical touch person, right? So just imagine I'm a physical touch person and my husband is an acts of service person. So my husband is somebody who likes me to do things for him, to help him with things, to cook for him, to do this, to help him with packing his clothes, all those kinds of things. Just imagine that I'm having long distance relationship with this kind of person. He won't meet my needs. We'll be fighting every day because I will need you to hold me, you're not there. I will need you to peck me here, you're not there. I will need you. So those things matter. Can you see what I mean? So it's so different. So he's an acts of service person. He's abroad. How will I do acts of service for him? Because the truth is, where he is, if you now meet somebody there who is paying attention, who is helping him cook, who is helping him pack he's going to literally fall for that person. Do you understand what I mean? So that's why long distance relationship is not. And my husband and I, we built when somebody we thought we had a solid foundation. Feju, when my husband was here, we saw every single day. Even in seeing, we spoke 5 to 6 times a day. You can imagine the kind of solid foundation we had. Before he traveled, he introduced me to his family members as a wife, as somebody he wants to marry, right? And the next thing he traveled, and the next thing problem started. Can you see what I mean? So another issue we had was, you begin to grow apart, all right? Because of course, you're not seeing each other every day, you're not communicating as you used to, you grow apart. Do you understand what I mean? So those things start affecting your relationship. And when you even, what happens is one person will begin to feel that sacrificing more. So for example, for me, I was the one that will not sacrifice finance. Like I have to be the one to buy ticket to travel because it's in school. I don't expect him to pay. Can you see? So one person will feel, I'm sacrificing more. Is it worth it? You will start fighting. Can you see what I mean? Technology again was another problem. Technology is supposed to be a solution for long distance, but it's also a problem because sometimes communication, like your text message will mean something else to the person. You will begin to fight. Can you see? Network problem. You will begin to fight. So all those things started, we started fighting. Then, you now feel some kind of resentment. You know why? Because I just feel, oh, now he's abroad. Why is this happening? And now become sad. Do you understand? And now begin to be resentful. Meanwhile, it's not his fault, it's not your fault. But I now begin to be resentful. Why is this happening to me? And you start snapping. You say, no, things like that start coming up. Do you understand? And what happens is when this person is busy, you don't want to believe you're busy. You're so busy that you can't call me. Do you understand what I mean? Like what? How are you so busy you can't call me? And Fiji, for example, this is somebody in Nigeria. Every day you tell me I love you, I miss you, and the next thing I'm saying I love you, you're not saying anything. I'm saying I miss you, you're not saying anything. So Fiji, for me, it was a big deal. Like, who are you with? You see what I mean? Who are you with? Sorry. Excuse me, even if I'm with my boss, Fejiro, even if I'm spiritual authority, I can say I love you to the one I love. Do you understand? Why can't I say I miss you? So things like that begin to cause issues. What happens? Trust is broken. Can you see? We start fighting. And once trust issues coming, things will begin to fall apart, right? So what I would say to anybody who's having long distance relationship is we can't just say problem. We also have to prefer solutions, right? So what I've come to understand for solution is there must be a long-term plan to end it. What is your long-term strategy to end that distance relationship? There must be a strategy. So if you're with someone and you plan on discussing when this is going to end, how it's going to end, what we need to do for it to end, please walk away from that relationship, or you start asking questions. You need to ask questions because everything about marriage, everything about relationship is about questions. You need to ask questions. Everything about God, it was about questions. He will ask you questions. When he was with the spies and he was asking Peter, who do people say I was? They say you're Jeremiah. They say you're Elisha. They say you're this. We're keen we're keen to base our opinions based on other people's opinions, other people's perspective.
Mhm.
We're keen to
Mhm.
define God by people's experiences. Why don't you want to experience Him yourself to begin to talk
Mhm.
about Him for your own experiences? Do you understand what I
Mhm.
mean? So I think we have to
Mhm.
get to the point where we're asking questions. We were made in His image, so we should be asking a lot of questions. Once you
Yeah.
meet somebody, it's like in the US, right? When they plant people, you know, those people they plant to be doing all those, to find out what you do is in dating is knowing about this person, knowing
Yeah.
about this person, his background, where he's from, who his parents are, who his friends
Mhm.
are, his character, his attitude. When you people go for dinner, does he talk to security men anyhow? Well,
Mhm.
when you go to the mother's house, does she speak to the mother anyhow? Things like that matter, because if you think that if you see your girlfriend speaking to the mother anyhow, who are you? Who are you that he will not that she will not speak to you like that? If you go to
Absolutely.
a restaurant and somebody you claim that you're dating that you want to marry is insulting the security man didn't do anything. Maybe he just tried
Mhm.
to open the gate, the padlock fell down, and you're there saying, "See you? Are you mad? Are you this?" He's going to do the same to you.
Bad
Do you understand what
markets.
I mean? So
Mhm.
solution for long distance relationship I would propose is, for example, long-term plan. I've said that, right? You must
Yeah.
have a communication strategy. So you must be intentional. Anything
Yeah.
about long distance relationship, is extra. Marriage is work alone.
Yes.
Physical dating is work.
Yes.
Anything outside physical dating is extra work,
Extra work.
extra
Yeah.
communication, extra
Yes.
time,
Yeah.
see, everything is defined by extra. Do you understand what I mean?
Mm.
So if
Yeah.
you're in a relationship, you're saying, "Oh, you're calling me too much." And the thing is that what happens again is, Fejiro, that issues as well. You're not calling too much. You're calling too much. So see,
Mm.
you guys need to sit down and define what this relationship means to you. That's number one. Where you people
Okay.
going? Is there any end to the plan? Are we getting married? Are we getting engaged? Am I coming over? You have to
Mm.
have a strategy for that. Communication,
Okay.
is it video? Is it chat? Is it this? How are we doing? What times are we doing it? The
Yeah.
the the, the time differences. What time works for you? What time can I text you? What time and
Mm.
another thing is, make sure that you update each other every single day. Fejiro. For example,
Mm.
if I'm going to work now, I'll do a video, do a picture or something. That's what I'm wearing today. I'm heading out.
Mm.
You have to make that person part of your daily life. When you're
Exactly.
cooking, put him on a video call. When you're,
Exactly.
do your workout, put him on a video. So you guys need to make TM is extra work, like I said. You guys need to
It
play games
is.
together
It is.
online, study the Bible
Yeah.
online, read the together, do the big review. So you guys need to constantly be communicating. So there has to be a communication strategy. Let me give you
Yeah.
another instance. There's a couple that I'm counseling now, right? Long distance relationship. What's going on now? The lady is in a state, he's in another state, right? And this is abroad, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
next thing, the guy says, "Okay, I'm tired of this. Can you come over?" And she's like, "There has to be commitment. Like, I can't just move. I have a good job. I mean, this people are in the medical field and they're the ones that make a lot of money. Do you understand? I can't leave my
Yeah.
job if there's." And the boy says, "I can't commit. Do you understand? You have to come so that at least me and you can even have that physical relationship." So what's
Mm-hmm.
happening? The girl doesn't want to move. She has a good job. The guy doesn't want to move. He has a good job. Then what happens? What happens? You see what I
Wow.
mean? So
Yeah.
now we're having to now meet, halfway. So what are we going to do about it? So you
Yeah.
guys must have a strategy. Who is moving? Who is not moving? Where are we moving
Mm.
to? If I leave my job, what's the plan? Do you understand? Do I
Mm.
get a job first before I move? Do you understand what I mean? Do I not get a
Mm.
job first? If I don't get a job first, what are we doing in terms of finances? How are we going to manage until I get a job? Do you understand what I mean?
Mm.
Another
Yeah.
thing is, sometimes because you're so used to long distance relationship, if you now come together, you begin to fight. Because to
Oh,
you, somebody is now in your space. Can you see what I mean?
yes.
You begin to
Yes.
fight because now
Yes.
you're used to the long distance relationship. Now this person is in your
Mm.
space, is in your room, is in your kitchen. So a lot of things, long distance
Wow.
relationship was not the way God built it. Do you understand?
I
It's
think
not for us. Marriage
you've
is not
shared
built by God. Yes,
you've
it is.
shared
So
tips
I
that would
think,
really help
yeah,
them because I
yeah, go
like that
ahead.
you said it's extra work.
Yes,
And anybody who wants to go into a long distance relationship must be ready to put in the work. I must be
yes,
careful to date with a strategy. I think that's the
yes,
summary of everything that you've
yes,
been saying.
yes,
And I really appreciate that you gave us, ways to work on that. You said have a long term plan, have a solid communication strategy, update yourself. Like I remember I used to tell my clients then, you can do movie nights. And one was in Canada.
Yes.
The third one I
Yes.
had was in Canada, one was in Nigeria. Do
Yes.
movie nights, cook together, and do all of that.
Yes. Yes.
I have a question. We have just 15 minutes, and I don't know how we're going to do the magic, but
Oh,
we'll do.
wow.
Okay? Yes.
Wow.
But please, guys, ladies, right? If you have questions, please drop them in the chat and I will take it once I'm done with my questions. I really love the fact that we are interacting and I hope that you're having an amazing time like I am. Somebody says sometimes you are mentally single even when you are in a long distance relationship. I understand you already, and trust me, long distance
Yes.
relationship is extra work. Anybody telling you otherwise is just telling you lies. Now I want to jump quickly to a few things. So if you were to speak to the kind of people we have in this call are professionals, people who are business owners, people who are professionals, serious about their career. One of the feedback I hear is that the guys are not serious. The guys are not serious. They just want to hang out, they just want to have fun. And then I go to the guys, I'm hearing the ladies are just fake. They are not being real. They are not being honest. They're just materialistic. And the ladies are like, no, I have my money, I'm independent. No guy would do me anyhow. So there's that. We're doing well, we're thriving. One of the things I want you to help us shed light on is what should guys and ladies be really looking out for? You can just give us maybe 3 or 4 very important things that people should be looking out for when they want to date. Not when I'm talking marriage now, because I believe that everything starts from that foundation. When they want to go into a dating relationship, what should they look out for?
Okay. So first of all, I think I can give 3 pointers right now, right?
Okay.
So you and I'm a Christian marriage counselor, right? So everything I
Yes.
do, everything I say, if I don't have backing for it in the Bible, I don't even talk about it. So,
Mm-hmm.
so the first thing that I think everybody should look out for, right? If you want to
Mm-hmm.
date, if you want to marry, if you want to, whatever, is
Yeah.
the first one I will say is I don't know if it's well. Let me not make it like it's number one, number two. Just I'll just be throwing them right
Yes.
and just
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so first thing is first. So I'm happy you mentioned foundation. So foundation is important, right?
Mm-hmm.
So foundation for me is Adrian. Let me paint a picture for you, right? Let me paint a picture for you. Fejiro, I am Fejiro. I met okay. So Fejiro, when God created man, right? What happened? He created him. He was a full human being, right?
Yeah.
Right? So, but until the breath of God came into that man, he didn't become a living soul, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So, the first thing I want everybody to understand is if you want to choose someone, make sure that that person has the spirit of God inside of him or inside of her. And Adrian, I'm not speaking about choosing, I'm speaking about you as an individual. Can you see the mistake we make is we say we want a man who prays. Do you pray? Want a man who does this? Do you do that? You want a man who knows God? Do you know God? And Adrian, I even want to go further, right? So what happens is I think I've come to a place where I've started telling myself that it's not even enough to know God. You have to choose someone who carries God. There are two
Hmm.
different things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Satan knows God. I mean, when Satan took Jesus to the mountain to tempt him, he quoted Psalm 91. Do you understand? He quoted some verses of that Psalm. So
Yes.
Satan knows God, right? The Bible says
Absolutely.
demons hear his name and they tremble. That means everybody knows God. But the difference between somebody who knows and who carries, somebody who carries God, who carries the nature of God. What is the nature
Mm,
of God? Somebody who carries his character. Like I said,
mm,
a lot of us say, what's on your list? What's on your list? Tall, that can be
yeah.
handsome. So, and I'm not
Mhm,
saying those things don't matter, Fejiro. I'm not saying they
mm,
don't matter. But Fejiro, I think what I name my own is healthy marriage indicators. So HMIS, healthy marriage
mm,
indicators. What do you have on your healthy marriage indicators? So when everywhere God chose in the Bible, Fejiro, what God chose by was character, internal
mm,
qualities and qualifications. I'll give you an example. When when the apostles wanted to choose those that would represent them, when they were trying to get administrative people to start feeding the women that were widowed and things like that, what did they
Yeah.
do? They chose Stephen them, men who had faith, men who knew God, men who had, do you understand what I mean? Those are things that you look out for in every human being. Let me give you another example. When there was choosing, when it came to Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, the three Hebrew boys, do you know how they chose? Don't forget what the king was saying was, oh, intellectual abilities, people who were working for the king, people who had this, people who were fully built in strength, physical this, physical that. Those were the qualities they chose from.
Yeah.
What did God choose? How did God choose them? Do you understand? It's about character. I keep saying it all the time. Your values. Do you align when it comes to spiritual things? So, Fejo, let me tell you what's happening. Don't forget I said I now became born again, right?
Yeah.
And Fejo, what happens is when you become born again and you're now unequally you, so you're in a marriage where you're the born again and your spouse is not, born again Christian yet. I use yet because it will happen. Do you understand what I mean? So what happens is communication is you won't communicate because people are not in alignment. Your values need to align. So once there is no alignment, particularly with the one that should power it, which is spiritual, every other single place is going to break apart. It's going to fall apart. Do you understand? Because what spiritual value does for you is that it keeps you in check. It empowers you people. It lets you communicate effectively because people are speaking from the same place. You could hear the same song. You could eat from the same place. You could hear the same messages. All those things, do you understand, matter when it comes to choosing. Do you understand what I mean? So it's important. And let me paint a picture for you, Fejo. Fejo, don't forget what I was saying, that, you now marry, you now choose somebody based on physical, right? Don't forget, Adam was already a full and complete human being. Meanwhile, the breath of God hadn't entered inside of him. So what happens is when you choose someone that doesn't have the spirit of God in him, you're choosing somebody who is beautiful, but is a corpse, is a walking corpse. You're choosing someone who is handsome, but is a walking corpse. You're choosing somebody who, so the truth is that until that person begins to live out who God is, you can't say you've chosen the right person. Fejiro, some of us have been in marriage for 10 years. We're still battling with it. Some of us have been in marriage for 30 years. And you're wondering, how can somebody be married for 30 years and they're getting a divorce? It's because there was value misalignment. In the things that matter. Somebody said core. That's it. The key values, your core values, don't compromise on them. Don't reduce your standard. Let me give you an example. My friend, my very good friend, right? Fejo, she met someone recently. She contacted me and said, Dolly, this is 99.1%. This is who I want to be.
Wow.
And
99. Wow.
I started questioning her. We started probing. You know me, I'll probe. And the next thing she would go back, she was asking questions. Fejo, guess what?
What?
This guy, that 9% this guy didn't have was that he said he doesn't believe in God.
That's the 100% of the old something.
So that is the 100%. And this, my friend, walked away. This friend I'm sharing with you is not a child. Do you understand what I mean? She's over 40. But she walked away. Do you know why? Because that is her core value. That is her core value. So you don't compromise on your core values. You don't do that. All right? Because you want to marry, because you want to go off the market, because your friends are getting married, because your sisters are getting married, and you now compromise on the one thing that is more important.
That is important.
Do you understand what I mean? Another area that I want to talk about is, Ejiro, knowing who you are matters. Wow. You must find your life purpose before you find your life partner. It's very important. Okay? Because what happens is that, Fejiro, let me use my case as an example. I found my life purpose inside marriage, Fejiro.
Yes.
Do you understand? I found my life purpose inside marriage. What do you think is going on? What do you think is happening? How do you think? Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
So, don't forget that as much as you want this person to be where you are or to be who God has called, you can't force it.
No.
You can't force this person to be that. So you must be considerate. You must accept the person. I always say it, right? Accept your reality. What is your reality? You must accept your reality. Do you understand? Don't be with someone based. No. What is your reality? So, Fejiro, I found myself. This is my reality. How do I manage my reality? How do I ensure that even in this reality that I found myself in, that I'm still living out God's purpose in it? And thankfully, my husband supports my dreams. He supports my vision. He supports my aspiration. He supports every single thing that I do. Why, Fejiro? Because I have allowed who I am in Christ
to reflect. Yes.
Do you understand? He has seen that this life that I'm living is a good life. So now it's rubbing off on him positively. So now it's easy for him to say, my husband calls me his mentor. My husband calls me his mentor. He never said that at the early stages, because at that point, me and him were back and forth, cat and dog, conflict. We couldn't resolve, we couldn't manage conflict there. You see? But now, I can't remember when last night my husband shouted, or no, everything is conversational. Do you understand what I mean? So it's important to know who you are before you even get married. Because if not, what happens is when you now go into marriage and you discover who you are, is now more difficult. Do you understand?
Yes.
Because now, this is not how you met this person. This is not how this person met you. Can you see?
Yes.
So you people are now two different individuals. Can you see? You people are now operating from different. Oh yes. Right. You play on different parts right now. So the clashes will start, the conflicts will start. Can you see? But you must understand that once your focus is that, what would God rather have me do? What does God want from me? How does God want me to respond? And that's why emotional intelligence comes in. So emotional intelligence tells you that instead of you to react, to respond. What does it mean to respond to someone? What it means to respond is you pause. You don't speak immediately. You don't have to respond. What we do is pride fighting in marriage. You begin to, you want to be right. You want to show that you're right. No, it's pride fighting. Do you understand what I mean? So what happens is you begin to understand that, what does God want me to do in this situation? Another thing that emotional intelligence does for you is that you think about the future. So consequential thinking. So you're thinking, if I do this, what's going to happen? Can you see? Once you understand what will happen, once you see the end of what you're trying to do, you just pause and say, you know what, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Do you understand what I mean? Now, so all those things play a huge role when it comes to choosing a life partner. Do you understand?
Thank you so much.
I think I mentioned 2, right? Or 3. I can't remember now.
Thank you so much. The 3 major points, because I need to emphasize. Ladies and gentlemen, because these things are very important. Number 1, find someone and be someone who carries God. Not just someone who knows God, who carries God, whose character, whose attitude, whose actions reflects that there is a dwelling of the Holy Spirit. Like, not somebody that goes to church, somebody that lives it out.
I mean, Fejiro, sorry, 1 minute. Fejiro, 1 minute. Fejiro, what happens in church? A church is like a hospital. Mental health, as in mentally deranged people come to the hospital. Do you understand? Come to the church. Pastors come to church. Do you understand? People that are white beaters come to church. Abusers come to church. Do you understand? So it's the same thing. So you don't choose because somebody is in your cell meeting, because somebody is in your fellowship. No, you don't choose based on that. You have to go deeper. So that's why there's a knowing. You must get to know this person. And Fejiro, knowing somebody as well, I also want to mention something, maybe a third thing now. Ejiro, who you choose matters. Where you choose that person matters. So it now begins to speak to the identity. Who is this person? Where is this person from? Do you understand? And that's what begins to tell you. When Jonah entered the boat, right? When Jonah entered the boat, what questions were they asking him? Where are you from? When was he necessarily asking where he's from? Because there is a covenant, there is a curse or blessing that follows each person and each family.
Absolutely.
So you must understand that. Even when Abraham was sending his messengers to go and look for a wife for Isaac, what did he do? He told him there is a covenant. God gave him a covenant that they will inherit a land in one nation. So that means there's always a covenant that follows every human being, including yourself. So you must go to foundation, find out where that person is from, find out what is prevalent in that person's family. There's some families that you marry, you won't have a child. There's some families that you marry, they're all fosters. There's some families that you marry, they are caught, they can't have children. So you have to make sure that you go deep. Marriage is deep. Let people not see marriage as something we plan. We read past exams. We develop ourselves to be to do well at work. Why is it marriage that because of us neglect? Meanwhile, there's supposed to be a preparation when it comes to marriage. Why? Why do we neglect it? Then when trouble comes, you now come and meet marriage counselor. Why don't you start from the foundations? Why don't you start right? Do you understand what I mean? So all those things matter, okay? So who you choose matters. Where you choose from matters. Those things are very. I know there's no time for us to go into this deeply. So maybe you can organize another session, right? But the truth is that too many things people have to look out for when it comes to choosing a life partner. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. We have 2 questions in the chat. Let me see if I can take the first one. Let me go back. Person dropped it about 30 minutes ago.
Okay.
But it has to do with workplace relationships. Give me a minute. Let me fish it out.
Okay.
Because that one too, since we have professionals here, also I've seen it.
Yes.
She says, how can you manage workplace relationships, especially as it can cause finish? So I think this question came up when we're talking about, I think you said something about relationships, and I think she's trying to find out maybe dating somebody at work, and how can you manage all of that so that there's no situation.
Okay. So who is this person? What's this person's name now? Because I can't see any name.
The cheerleader.
Okay. So the cheerleader. Remember when I was telling my story, I told you that I met my husband at work, right?
Yes.
So I met my husband at work, right? So what happens with workplace relationship is you must know what your policy says, right? What happens is, if you know what your policy says and your policy accepts it, then it's okay. So it's just for you and your partner to now come together and agree on what you could do. So you won't be at work and you are playing love. No. So my husband and I then were dating. So my boyfriend and I then, people knew we're dating, but we're not all over the place. We're not like all over the place holding hands. No, when we're at work, it was strictly official, right? I'll call him if there's anything. He will reprimand me. I'll do this because he was higher than me in the office, right? So you have to have a plan. So for example, 2 of you must have a plan, long-term plan if you are serious, because you don't expect to be in the same office and you're getting married in the same office. Do you understand what I mean? So you must have a plan. So plan to date. How long should we date, right? In that environment. Then whilst you're there, if people know how serious your relationship is, you now begin to say, you know what, one person has to begin to look for a job. Who is that person? Those things cause problems as well. So people have to agree who is that person. So what we did was we checked who was earning more, right? So there's some criteria to look out for. Do you understand? Who would it be easy for to look for a job, so that person has to leave, so that the other person, so there are too many things you pick out to say, how do we now begin to manage ourselves? So for example, I've mentioned a few, right? So I don't know if that helps, but it's basically 2 of you that will agree, that will agree on how, but please find out what your policy says, because secret relationship is also bad. You know why? If nobody knows that you people are dating, the guy can be dating somebody else, she can be dating somebody else. Do you understand?
True.
Yes, because it also happened in my own office. Do you understand? So for example, let me tell you what happened. So what happened was my boyfriend had something with somebody, right? But what happens is once he started seeing me and he knew he was serious with me, he told me straight up that, babe, I had something with this person. Do you understand? Just in case. Can you see how transparent and honest he was? Do you understand? And the next thing, what happens? This same lady had something with was now my neighbor. I was the one that was bringing her to the office every morning. Can you see?
Wow.
So what if he didn't tell me? So there must be transparency, there must be honesty. So you must communicate every single thing. Because if not, what happens is he can be doing a secret relationship inside that same office and you won't know. And don't forget, exactly.
And the ladies will tell you because we're together.
Exactly. So he's coding 2 of you. Meanwhile, you play in the same office. But what happened in my case was one day I now dropped her and my boyfriend came down to meet me to take something from me. Once he left, she's like, do you know this? I said, yes, so that I'm dating him now, blah, blah. She now said, oh, he's a bad person. And I said, oh no, he has told me that I had something with you. She was shocked.
Can you imagine?
She was shocked. Can you see? She was shocked. Wow. So why am I saying all these things? There must be honesty, there must be transparency. If not, you could blame yourselves. And there must be an end to it. Like I said, there must be an end to it. So 2 of you must have a strategy, have a plan on how to end it. Okay?
Wow. Thank you so
Yes.
much. Thank you so much. We have a second question for
Oh,
you.
she said something. Please, she said something about from or people disrespecting him. Blah blah blah. Please, just try and catch that because there was something she said from a place of people disrespecting him, something like that.
Yeah. We have it now. It was from a place of people disrespecting him or speaking anyhow to him as a result of the job. Because I don't think I want to watch that.
Oh, so the
Yeah,
cheerleader, I'm so sorry, but people are in the
yeah,
same office, so you have to see those things, right? And
yeah,
don't forget, your husband is a human being. He's not a perfect human being, just like you're
yeah.
not. So he will make
Mm-hmm,
mistakes, right? So
mm-hmm,
what will happen if you don't want to be seeing those things? Then now is the time to start looking for another job. One person has to
yeah,
leave there, so that at least you're
yeah,
not seeing those things, okay? So, but if
yeah.
it's that you see, you have to see because people are in the same office. Mine was different because my husband was in the head office. I was in another office. Can you see? So it was different. So I
Mm-hmm,
wasn't seeing anything, right? But at the
yeah,
same time, even if we're in the same office, we have to tell ourselves the truth, right? There are times you make mistake, and the
mm-hmm,
boss might reprimand him where I am. What do we do, right?
mm-hmm,
So all we'll
yeah,
do is go home, talk about it, and we'll now say, you know what? In order to
yeah,
avoid these things, what do we do? Maybe one
mm-hmm.
person can start looking for another job, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even think this happens alone at workplace. I've seen people speak to other people anyhow in church as well. Somebody you're
Oh
dating
yes,
in church and somebody else is talking
yes,
to the person,
yes,
another way. So it's something that you probably will have to manage, have
yes,
conversations with your partner to know,
yes,
okay, so what led to this, what led to this, and then see how that
yes,
can be avoided
yes.
subsequently. Very brilliant question. Thank you so much, the cheerleader. Now, there was a second question I wanted us to take before we begin to round up.
Okay.
Okay, that's from I think that's from Ore. She says about that. I know some people find when you're talking about purpose. She said, I know
Yes.
some people find their life purpose early. Well, how would that align with those who get married young, where they may not know their purpose? What does it mean for young married couple?
Okay, that's a good question. So let me tell you what's happening now, right?
Okay.
So for my children, Fejiro, I started building them up to know what their purpose is. Can you see?
Yeah.
So that we didn't get that growing up, it's not our parents' fault. They were not aware, right? They didn't even
Mhm.
know any
Yeah.
better, right? So
Mhm.
what
Yeah.
happens is, as a young person, you're supposed to even know what your calling is. So purpose is not about age.
Mm.
No,
Mm.
you
Mm.
can know what your purpose is even as a young person, even as a child,
Yes.
right? Just like
Mhm.
right now, I know what my children's love languages are. Do you
Yeah.
understand? Right
Mm.
now, I know what my children's financial personalities are because
Mm.
because our parents didn't pay attention to that. They didn't know. But right now, I already know what my children like. I already know where God is calling my children to. Can you see? So
Mm.
when you
Yeah.
grow up knowing that, it's easier. So what you need to do now is to understand. So knowing who you are basically is about, for example, you have to know, for example, hey, what are those things again? So recognize and understand who you are means, for example, know what your thoughts are, know what your emotions are, know what your
Yeah.
behaviors are, your
Mhm.
weaknesses, your strengths,
Mhm.
your vision, your interests. All those things matter, your values. So right now in my house, my children, we have values that we live by. They're
Mhm.
young. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, right? We
Yeah.
have like a values like value, mission, vision,
Yeah.
all those things we have them,
Mhm.
right? We have
Mhm.
our values, integrity, resilience. We have all those things, right? In
Yeah.
my house right now. So I'm trying to bring them up now so that when as they're growing, nobody needs to tell them, they already know. So whoever is meeting them is
Yeah.
meeting them as people who are already living in their calling, in their purpose.
Mm. Mm.
They're meeting them as people who already know what their values are. They're
Mm.
meeting them as people who already know what their vision is for life. Can you
Mm.
see?
Yeah.
So it's not about your age, okay? So I think
Yeah.
what will happen now is begin to ask your creator, right? It's just like you have an iPhone. An iPhone has a manual. The creator of the iPhone has already stated everything you need to do. That's the same way we go back to God to ask him what our purpose. And purpose is not about, hey, what can I do? What can I do? God said replenish and dominate and subdue. What is it that is lacking that you're supposed to be replenishing?
Mm.
What is it that is lacking that you're supposed to? Do you understand? So all those things are things you look at. That Fejiro is here is because she has seen a gap where marriage is, where relationship is.
Yeah.
And because she grew up, so let me tell you my story, right? So all those things we know that are there, just that because our parents were not aware, they didn't see. But I was surprised, Fejiro, 2 years ago, last I can't remember, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, my mom said, D girl, do you know that I'm not surprised you're doing this? Because that even as a young person, that she saw that I was so interested in that Fejiro,
Wow.
I was the only person people could talk to. I was small, I was young, but I'll be
Yeah.
the one telling people about relationship,
Mm.
about their relationship, about their marriages.
Yeah.
In fact, there was somebody in our family that I was instrumental to bringing two of them together. 60-year-old, 50-year-old from where?
Wow.
So those things were there. So because then our parents didn't think all those things were professions or something that do you understand? They did just
Yeah.
like when we were growing up. Our parents wanted to be a lawyer, doctor, this, that. They never talked about football, they never talked about running, they never talked about all those things. Do you understand? But now what's happening? Parents are leveraging it now and saying, my child, what can you do? You can play piano, let's go. You can do this,
Yeah.
let's go. So all those things are actually your innate abilities. God has given them to you. So
Yeah.
they're inside of you, just for you to discover them. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Discover them. Once you discover them, so that whoever you're meeting will align with who you are. So that
Yeah.
anybody that's not in alignment with who you are, once they
There's
come,
no
they'll say,
yeah.
this is not, and the person will walk away, you will have peace.
I love that you said that. And I think Mommy Mo highlighted this yesterday when she was talking about the fact that once you know yourself, if you guys are paying attention, right, you would realize that one of the core of the conversations from yesterday and today is knowing yourself. Because she said,
That's it.
once you have clarity of your values, your beliefs, of the things that are important to you, when a person shows up, your first conversations would be around those areas, things that are important to you. And once you see that me and this person cannot speak, you carry your bag, carry your slippers, and you go. But what
Yeah,
happens when there's no self awareness, your identity is misplaced? You just keep
that's it.
allowing your
That's
emotions
it.
to lead you.
That's it.
And when you
That's
get
it.
into the middle of the relationship, you begin to realize that, this guy is fraudulent.
Yes. Yes.
This guy lacks integrity. This church,
Yes.
but he cuts corners.
Yes.
Straight. And at that time, because
Yes.
your emotions led you there, you begin to be like, okay, what will I do? But I'm single. Age has gone. I'm 35. Time is going. And but he's
Yeah.
kind of, but she's this, so but she's patient, but she can cook. But you now begin
Yes.
to struggle
Yes.
with your emotions. So the
Yes.
core of the
Yes.
conversation between yesterday and today that I have observed is having an
Yes.
understanding of who you are. And guess what? Where else if not in God? Where else if
Yes.
not in God
Yes.
would you have clarity of all of this? This is so, 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 so.
Fejiro, please just allow me say one thing, Fejiro. So
Yeah.
just in case you're struggling to know what values, so values are the principles that guide the choice, you guide your choices, right? So
Mhm.
when you find what your values are, you don't compromise on them, right? So
Mhm.
that's what
Mhm.
so your innate values must be the same with your external values, right? So what
Yeah.
happens is once you know who you are and you're
Mhm.
working towards not compromising on them, what happens to a lot of us is that because we don't know what our values are, we change when doctrines change. But once you know who you are, you can't change because doctrines are changing. Does it
Yeah.
make
Wow.
sense? Right?
Background. Yes.
So deeply held beliefs are what shapes your choices and what influences your identity.
Mhm. Thank you so
Right? So
much.
it's important to know that. And I think there was somewhere in the Bible this was said. Please, Fejiro, I think Galatians 6:4. I think the Bible was talking about make a careful exploration of who you are, and when
Mm.
you have found them, you stay there. Do not
Mhm.
do not be impressed by them, and do not compare yourself with others. Yes, please help me pull it out. I think that's what it says. So even the Bible says you must make a careful exploration of yourself. So find out
Mm.
who you are. It's very important.
Mm.
That's the first point of call. Foundations, that's what we're dealing with here. So foundation, if your foundation is not built on a rock, the Bible made it clear. Do you understand? It's in God.
Yeah.
It's God that created marriage. So if you build outside who created it, I mean, how do you want that marriage to work? How do you want the relationship to work? It won't work. And people have asked me, oh, but people that are not that are not born again Christians, their marriages are. I said, yeah, because they are eating from the same plate, they're drinking
Mm.
from the same cup. Once
Mm.
you're heading to the same destination, of course it will work for you. But just that, where is the end of that destination? Where are you ending up?
Mm.
Where will you end up? So that's what's important. Okay.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. Wow. I know you guys are having a nice time and you don't want to go, but we really have to end this. We really have to end this. I'm going to ask one final question and then we'll end it for
Okay.
tonight. Coach Dolly,
All
what
right.
advice, what counsel do you have for singles who are here, who are looking to go into a relationship this year, one that is rewarding, that is fulfilling, no GPT, and then they're looking for that relationship to lead to marriage? What advice do you have for them, either guys or ladies?
Okay. I think I've already mentioned a few of them. But
Yeah,
maybe in closing, maybe what I'll say is I know the core ones I've mentioned them, but let me just say one that I think is important.
yeah.
So, and please, Fiju, I know we're in a hurry, but I'm going to rush this, okay?
Okay.
So please, if you're here and you're listening to me, just understand that marriage is a covenant.
Mm,
Eju, I didn't have that understanding before I got married. Do you know
yeah.
why? A lot of us go to the altar and just recite. So we're doing recitals for better
That's
for
what I
worse,
said. Wow.
for poorer.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
recital. We don't really understand the implication of what we're doing. So
Mm,
once you understand that you can't break a covenant, you will get
mm,
it right. You will tell
mm,
yourself, what can I do? Who can I be? Who can I become to ensure that I don't break any covenant that I get into?
mm,
It's important for us to understand that, okay?
mm,
And Fejiro, we know that in the Bible you search and say, where exactly they say for better, for poor, for poorer. Ejiro, please, if you read Ruth and Naomi's story, it
mm,
describes fully what a covenant is. It
mm,
actually describes for better, for worse, for is a single covenant. It's not a dual covenant because it's not a marriage relationship. But Fejiro,
mm.
that verse alone changed my mentality about what marriage
Wow.
is, because whoever you choose can change the destiny of your marriage, change the destiny of your children, change the destiny. It
Yes.
was from that
Yes.
covenant that that Jesus was produced, that the new covenant was produced. It
Mm,
was from that
mm,
covenant. So just
mm,
imagine if Ruth did not make that covenant, did not stay with. Well, if Ruth did not make that covenant to Naomi. So that's how important covenant is. So if there's one thing I want you to take away is marriage is a covenant.
mm,
Just ensure that you're choosing make sure you understand who you're choosing to enter into this covenant, because
mm,
covenants are not supposed to be broken, vows are not supposed to be broken. So once you have this mentality, once you have this knowledge, what do
mhm.
you do? What do you do afterward? How do you ensure that you now choose right? Okay.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please show some love in the chat room. I've had an amazing time. And I know you have to. And to think that all of this came free, please don't trivialize anything. If I were you, I will watch the replay over and over again. You heard her. She said she will watch this. That's one thing you should know. We come back again because sometimes when we speak, we are not just speaking of our own intelligence, we are also led, right? So this is very important. Thank you so much, Coach Dolly. Some people would like
Thank
to
you.
reach you, connect with you. How can they reach you after today?
Okay. Okay. So I'm on Instagram as at the Healthy Marriage Hub, at the Healthy Marriage Hub on Instagram. Yes, I'm also on Facebook. I think as the Healthy Marriage Hub, or Dolly Ohanyere on Facebook. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Fejuro, thank you so much for having me. I do not take it for granted. I really do appreciate you and your friendship and your work, what you're doing. I really do appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have
Thank
an
you. Thank you.
amazing night
You
rest.
too.
I'm gonna let you go
Thank you
now
so much.
and then
All right.
I would wrap up for
All
everyone.
right then.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much.
Yeah, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of day 2 of the series Dating Chronicles with MrzSparkles. I don't know about you, but I'm just relieved. I'm excited. I know that I'm doing what I'm meant to do. I know that I'm transforming your life. You have everything that you need. The question is, are you going to implement? Are you going to do something about this, or will you just hear and then allow it to go to waste? Remember that we continue tomorrow, day 3. We continue tomorrow, day 3, and we're going to be having Coach Ife with us. We're going to be having Coach Ife with us. It's going to be an amazing time on this somehow. Please register so that you can get the link. Please register at www.askmrzsparkles.com /DC. Okay. please register so that you can get the link and then subsequent reminders to join us. Thank you, success. I'm glad you guys were able to make out time. I don't want to keep you further because I know that we took extra minutes. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.